Have you woefully forgotten the first season of Wednesday? Feeling in the dark on the cusp of season 2? It's not as grave as you might think. Our recap will make sure you're left behind nevermore. When we first meet Wednesday Addams, she's your typical goth girl who isn't too pleased about spending her days at Nancy Reagan High School. What sets her apart from the throngs of other teenagers she's forced to share the halls and classrooms with is her secret proclivity for sudden psychic visions.
They come on without warning. You feel like electroshock therapy, but without the satisfying afterburn.
We see this firsthand when she discovers her brother Pugsley tied up in her locker. After she frees him, she's struck by one of these visions and learns that a bunch of jocks are responsible. Unsurprisingly, she attempts to kill them and is then expelled. As a result, her parents, Morticia and Gomez, enroll her at Nevermore Academy, a school for weirdos and outcasts of all types that they themselves attended long ago. Here she meets a widely varying cast of characters, starting off with her new roommate Enid, a bubbly werewolf girl who gives her a rundown of all the cliques. There's the Fangs, who are vampires, there's the Furs, who are werewolves, there's the Stoners, who are gorgons, and there's the Scales, who are sirens. Bianca is a Scale through and through, and she very quickly becomes Wednesday's nemesis.
You must be the psychopath they let in.
And you must be the self-appointed queen bee. Interesting thing about bees. Pull out their stingers and they drop dead.
Wednesday also meets Rowan, the stereotypical nerd, and Xavier, who saves her from being crushed by a falling gargoyle. Turns out she met him years before and saved him from being accidentally cremated alongside his grandmother's corpse. As for faculty, she meets Principal Weems and science teacher / dorm mom Miss Thornhill. The latter seems friendly enough, but she warns Wednesday about Jericho, the nearby town where the locals are a bit wary of Nevermore students. This doesn't stop her and Thing, who has been sent by her parents to keep an eye on her, from ditching her mandatory therapy session with Dr. Kinbot and venturing off into town. This is where she meets Tyler, a barista who doesn't totally disgust her.
I'm Tyler, by the way. I didn't catch your name, or is that on a need-to-know basis too?
Wednesday.
However, things get a bit complicated when his father, Sheriff Galpin, shows up and tells him to steer clear of her, since he has long believed that Wednesday's father is a murderer. More on that later. They get even more complicated when she and Tyler meet up at the local carnival so that he can help her escape Nevermore, after he hands over a copy of her father's criminal record, a kind gesture that warms her cold little heart. They get chased by bullies. This is when she runs into Rowan and has a vision of his grisly death. After following him into the woods, he attacks her and claims that an ancient prophecy foretells that she will destroy the school. Sounds kind of far-fetched at first, but an illustrated page ripped from a book floats up towards Wednesday, and yeah, that definitely looks like her. Before he can do anything else, a monster appears and mauls him to death before sparing Wednesday and running off into the darkness. Of course, Sheriff Galpin doesn't believe her story, especially since Rowan magically reappears unharmed the next day.
Edgar Allan Poe said, "Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see." Clearly, Nevermore's most famous alumni picked that up here.
While this causes her to doubt her sanity, Tyler believes her. When she asks Principal Weems where Rowan is so that she can interrogate him, she's told that he's been expelled for undisclosed reasons. Then Weems confronts her about her psychic visions, having already been aware that Morticia started having them when she was around Wednesday's age. But this conversation doesn't really go anywhere. Eventually, Wednesday confronts Rowan outside of the school as he's getting ready to leave for the train station with Miss Thornhill. Suffice to say, both of them are quick to brush her aside.
You shouldn't be here.
Yeah, back off and leave me alone.
Thing secretly tags along to Burlington Station, following Rowan until he steps into the bathroom. This is where we find out that it isn't Rowan at all. It's actually a shapeshifter. And it's not just any shapeshifter, it's Principal Weems. While exploring the woods with Tyler later on, Wednesday happens upon Rowan's broken glasses and experiences another vision. In it, she sees the book where that random page containing her likeness was torn from, a tome entitled Nightshade Society. After discovering a watermark on the page, she asks Miss Thornhill about it and finds out that the Nightshades were once a student society at Nevermore, but the science teacher isn't much help beyond that.
Color me intrigued.
I was told they disbanded years ago.
Any idea why?
Sorry.
Wednesday then postpones her investigation for a short while to help Enid thwart Bianca during the Poe Cup, since some sweet revenge is definitely in order after being narrowly defeated by her in an impromptu fencing contest earlier on. During the competition, she experiences another brief vision and meets what seems to be a bizarro blonde version of herself who tells her that she is the key, whatever that means. Later, she finds the same symbol used for the watermark on a statue of Edgar Allan Poe. This leads her to discover a secret passage that leads down to a hidden hidden library below the school. Moments after she finds the book she saw in her vision, she's captured by the Nightshades, who are very much still in business. Turns out the society is composed of some familiar faces, Bianca and Xavier being among them. Xavier makes the case for her to join the club, but she refuses. This doesn't mean she's above asking for his help during her investigation, though. She runs into him the next morning during Outreach Day, an event that centers around Nevermore students volunteering in Jericho and getting to know the townsfolk. He tells her about Joseph Crackstone, the man who founded the town back in the day. This prompts her to volunteer at Pilgrim World, a theme park that pays homage to the town's origins. While on the job, she discovers a painting that depicts a house and the girl she saw in her vision. She also discovers a blank replica of a book called The Book of Shadows. With a little help from Tyler, she's able to find the ruins of the house in the woods and a squatter that Thing deftly deals with. Soon after, she has yet another vision. This one is, pretty intense. Turns out the girl she saw earlier is actually her ancestor, Goody Adams. It also turns out that Joseph Crackstone and the OG Jericho colonists took it upon themselves to trap her and a bunch of outcasts, who they believed to be witches and sorcerers, in the farmhouse and burn them alive.
For your sins, you will burn this night and suffer the flames of eternal hellfire.
Yikes. Thankfully, Goody was able to escape. When Wednesday awakens, she briefly encounters the monster and learns that it just might be human. We'll have to wait and see. Soon after, Xavier shows up and tells her that she shouldn't trust her visions, that they're spurred on by emotion rather than anything logical. Back in town, Wednesday and Thing conspire to destroy the new statue of Joseph Crackstone that was recently unveiled for the festivities. Nice. Though the monster has spared Wednesday twice by this point, the squatter she ran into at the old house in the woods isn't so lucky. But before he's killed, he's able to snap a pic of the monster, which Sheriff Galpin is able to later develop in the lab. Meanwhile, Wednesday continues with her search for the truth by breaking into the coroner's office. There she discovers that every victim so far has had one of their body parts surgically removed.
The first one a kidney, the second one a finger,
Wednesday, I don't really feel like...
the third one a gallbladder, and the bearded man from the meeting house. 2 toes.
At this point, the person she finds most suspicious is Xavier, so she follows him to his secluded art studio and discovers a bunch of drawings of the monster. Definitely seems like he might be the monster, or at the very least connected to the monster and its murder spree. Alongside her friend Eugene, the two of them use the drawings to find the monster's lair. Inside the lair, they find a broken claw, which she brings back to town and presents to Sheriff Galpin. Upon her request, he compares the DNA between the claw and a bloody rag she took from Xavier, but the results are inconclusive. The same night, the much-awaited Raven Dance commences at Nevermore. Needless to say, a lot goes down while the party rages on, including plenty of romantic drama and, of course, Wednesday's iconic Goo Goo Muck dance scene. The town bullies also managed to rig the sprinkler system and spray the entire student body with red paint as a means of revenge for the destruction of the Joseph Crackstone statue, which definitely puts a bit of a damper on the evening. Worse yet, Eugene runs into some major problems while he's surveilling the monster's lair. After seeing a mysterious figure set fire to it, he's attacked by the monster, an event Wednesday sees in a vision as people are scrambling to escape the sprinklers. By the time she reaches him, it's too late.
Oh my God! Is he alive?
He's in a coma for now, but he'll be all right. While he recovers, Parents' Day ensues at Nevermore. This is when Wednesday decides to delve into the rumors surrounding her parents. You know, the whole thing about Gomez being a murderer and all. She jumps right in during a family therapy session, presenting the file that Tyler gave her earlier on. The person Gomez allegedly killed was Garrett Gates, a wealthy socialite and direct descendant of Joseph Crackstone. Morticia isn't too stoked about Wednesday bringing this up and abruptly ends the session. Not much later, Sheriff Galpin shows up and arrests Gomez. Turns out some new evidence has come to light, some very circumstantial evidence anyway. After learning that the town coroner allegedly killed himself after admitting to fabricating Garrett Gates' autopsy report, Galpin sees some black gum stuck to the security camera in the morgue, which leads him to jump to the conclusion that Gomez must somehow be behind it.
There's only ever been one suspect. I always thought they were covering up the truth. Now I got my proof.
Of course, we know that Thing is the one who stuck the gum on the camera back when Wednesday infiltrated the morgue, but that's beside the point. When he's locked up, Gomez tells Wednesday his version of what went down all those years ago. Gates was apparently obsessed with Morticia, and he took to stalking her after learning that she wasn't romantically interested in him. Being that Gates' family was so rich and powerful, the cops were of no help to them, so they had to just live with it. Everything came to a dramatic culmination when Gates broke into the school and confronted them during the night of the Raven Dance.
His eyes bore into me brimming with murderous intent.
Go, get out of here. He won't hurt me.
Gates tried to kill Gomez with a sword, but Gomez ultimately got the upper hand and accidentally ran him through. But that's not exactly what went down. Morticia later admits to Wednesday that she's actually the one who killed him, and Gomez took the blame in order to protect her. Okay, mystery solved, right? Nope. After exhuming Gates' body, Wednesday and Morticia discover that he was poisoned. Turns out Gates had been tasked by his bigoted father to poison the entire school body at the Raven Dance, but messed up and poisoned himself, which would explain why he was foaming at the mouth when he attacked Gomez and Morticia. They present this evidence to Mayor Walker, who was the sheriff at the time of the murder, and he confirms their theory. He also admits to covering it up in return for securing the mayorship and how he's lived with the guilt of it for decades. Morticia and Wednesday agree to keep it a secret, but only if he lets Gomez go, which he does. While it's definitely nice that Wednesday is now on better terms with her family, the mystery of the monster at Nevermore is still an issue. Thanks to a yearbook given to her by her mother, Wednesday is able to prove that Principal Weems is in fact a shapeshifter and that she posed as Rowan the day after he was murdered in the woods. When she threatens to tell Sheriff Galpin about it, Weems stops playing dumb and admits it.
Rowan's father already knows what happened, and he fully supports my decision not to involve the authorities.
After explaining that she did it to protect the school's reputation, the back and forth is sidelined by a strange occurrence out on Nevermore's lawn, flames that spell out "Fire will rain." Yeah, that doesn't bode well for anyone. But hey, it isn't enough to stop Wednesday's friends from throwing her a surprise birthday party. Of course, she isn't too excited about it, even though they did try to stay on brand by choosing the old Crackstone crypt as the party's locale.
I should have known you were behind this. What part of no party under the penalty of death do you not understand?
Things get a little more exciting for her, though, when she discovers a tomb that bears some markings that match the message left in flames on the Nevermore lawn. When she touches it, she has another vision. Goody shows up again in this one to show Wednesday the old Gates mansion and tell her that it contains what she needs to topple the Crackstone legacy once and for all. Meanwhile, Principal Weems tasks Mayor Walker with finding out who set the fire on the lawn. This leads him to the Gates mansion, where Wednesday, who went there per Goody's recommendation, secretly witnesses him leaving. Unbeknownst to him, she hides in his car and hitches a ride back to town. Once there, she watches as he's struck by a car right in front of her eyes. This incident causes Principal Weems to shut down the school and forbid anyone from leaving, especially Wednesday. But come on, do you think she obeys? She tricks Enid and Tyler to accompany her to the mansion in the dead of night, where they find a trove of evidence, which includes the car that hit Mayor Walker, some body parts taken from the monster's victims, and Laurel Gates's old jewelry box. Note that Gates is a descendant of Joseph Crackstone, so things are definitely looking up, but only for a minute. The monster crashes the party and manages to scratch Tyler before they can get out of there. Afterwards, Wednesday leads Sheriff Galpin back to the mansion, but when they get there, everything they'd found is no longer there. What a surprise. Of course, this just adds to the misgivings he's had about her throughout the entirety of the season.
From this point forward, you are forbidden from seeing Tyler, and you are forbidden from pursuing anything to do with this case. Understood?
Back at Nevermore, Principal Weems forgives Wednesday for disobeying her and gives her one last chance to fall in line before she resorts to expulsion. Enid, on the other hand, is kind of over Wednesday at this point. She's tired of her manipulative ways and decides to move out of their dorm room. Sitting there all by her lonesome, Wednesday discovers a secret stash of photos in Laurel Gates's jewelry box. They're pictures of her, which suggests that someone has been watching her ever since she showed up at Nevermore. At this point, things take an especially dark turn when someone breaks into the hospital and takes out Mayor Walker. As the town gathers for a funeral, Wednesday broods, knowing that she's close to uncovering the truth. Thankfully, Uncle Fester shows up to help.
Monsters, murder, mayhem. What fun!
The first thing he does, with Thing's help, is break into a safe in the Nightshades' secret library to retrieve the diary of Nevermore's founder, Nathaniel Faulkner. In the diary are some crucial deets regarding the monster. Most importantly, that it's a rare creature known as a Hyde, and that they are controlled by a master. Next, they follow Xavier to a secret meeting with Dr. Kinbot in the woods. Knowing that something fishy is going on, she goes to discuss the matter with Principal Weems, only to find that Dr. Kinbot is already in her office. So she bails and keeps everything to herself. Since there isn't anything she can do to further her investigation at the moment, she goes on a little date with Tyler, but this doesn't pan out for her either since Sheriff Galpin shows up to crash the party. When she returns to her dorm room, she finds that it's been vandalized. Worse though, Faulkner's diary has been stolen and Thing has been seriously wounded. Proving his usefulness once more, Uncle Fester resuscitates him. When she asks him who did this to him, he says that he was attacked from behind.
Whoever did this to you will suffer. And it won't be slow. Long. and excruciatingly painful.
When she talks to Principal Weems about what happened, she learns that the shapeshifter does in fact know about the existence of the diary and that the monster is a Hyde. Unsurprisingly, she's been keeping this all to herself in order to protect the school. Later, she finds out that Mayor Walker was investigating Laurel Gates before he was suddenly run over by the car. What did he learn before this happened? That Laurel Gates very well might still be alive after faking her own death. If this is true, what's she doing back in Jericho?
Revenge on all the people she blames for her family's misfortunes. Your father, the coroner, my parents, most of all, Nevermore.
The person Wednesday suspects above all others is Dr. Kinbot, who she confronts in her office. However, this theory is disproven when the monster shows up and kills Kinbot. As for who the monster is, she believes it's Xavier, especially since he has Kinbot's necklace in his art studio. Galpin arrests him even though he claims that someone planted it there. With at least one part of the mystery seemingly solved, she returns to her dorm room and finds that Enid has moved back in and is willing to forgive her. Hey, things might actually be turning around for her. Now in a good mood, which seems almost unthinkable for Wednesday, she finds Tyler at the coffee shop and makes up for the kiss that was ruined by Galpin earlier on. But this prompts her to have another vision and learn that Tyler is the monster. Dang, some people just can't have nice things. Wednesday deals with this revelation by kidnapping Tyler and interrogating him. Once Principal Weems finds out about this, she sends Galpin to stop her. At the police station, Tyler shows up and admits to everything before threatening her.
You have no idea what's coming.
Well, one thing she probably does know is coming is expulsion, and that's exactly what happens. But this doesn't stop her from continuing her investigation. First, she visits Xavier, who is still locked up, and asks him if he's willing to help her. Of course, he's pretty salty about being falsely accused and tells her to scram.
Do you want to stop this? Then leave. Go far away and never come back. Do you understand?
Next, she visits Eugene in the hospital. He's awoken from his coma, but his memory is understandably cloudy. One thing he remembers, though, turns out to be the only thing Wednesday needs to know in order to prove who is responsible for the attack that left him in a coma. Turns out, the suspect who set fire to the monster's lair was wearing red boots. And we all know what that means. Yep, Miss Thornhill is actually Laurel Gates and the Hyde's master. When she's confronted about it, she responds by poisoning Principal Weems and kidnapping Wednesday.
Nightshade poisoning.
A fitting end, don't you think?
Thing then finds Enid and tells her what went down. Eugene knows something is up as well and leaves the hospital, against his mother's wishes, to go and help her. While she's tied up in the Crackstone crypt, Wednesday listens to Laurel lay everything out. Laurel returned to Jericho in secret to take revenge against Nevermore as a whole for the death of her brother Garrett Gates and everything else that has befallen the Crackstone family. It's also revealed that Wednesday's ancestor Goody Adams is the one who killed Joseph Crackstone all those years ago. At this point, Wednesday is able to piece together the rest of Laurel's plan. She's been having Tyler murder people and steal their body parts so that she can resurrect Crackstone. With the Book of Shadows and Wednesday's blood, Laurel successfully carries through with the process.
I am of your blood. I have summoned you to rid the world of outcasts once and for all.
Things are looking pretty dire for a minute, especially after Crackstone stabs Wednesday and leaves her in the crypt to die. Thankfully, Goody's spirit shows up to save her, with the help of the necklace given to her by her mother in the very beginning of the show. After she escapes the crypt, she's attacked by Tyler in the woods. However, Enid shows up in werewolf form and saves the day. Meanwhile, Wednesday faces off against Crackstone in the Nevermore courtyard, fulfilling the prophecy depicted in the picture we first saw in episode 1. Just when it starts to look like he might prevail, Bianca provides an assist, giving Wednesday enough time to stab Crackstone in the heart and kill him for good. That just leaves Laurel Gates, who threatens to shoot Wednesday. This is where Eugene gets to be the hero and save the day with his loyal swarm of bees. How's that for teamwork? After the dust settles, Nevermore is closed down for the remainder of the semester. Before she returns home, Wednesday makes peace with Xavier, who gives her a cell phone as a gift. Needless to say, it's funny to think of what her Pinterest gallery will look like. JK, she would never. The last two things we see before the credits roll are Wednesday receiving a mysterious text that says, "I'm watching you," and Tyler chained up in the back of a police van. We'll just have to wait for season 2 to find out what more is in store at Nevermore. One of the biggest things we're wondering about Season 2 is what new characters are going to show up. Recently, Netflix confirmed that we will indeed be seeing a handful of both new and recognizable faces when the new installment drops. The first is Grandmama Hester Frump, who will be played by Joanna Lumley. Second, none other than Steve Buscemi will be portraying Principal Dort, Weems' official replacement at Nevermore. Then there's Isadora Papri, Nevermore's new music teacher. She'll be played by Billie Piper. Turns out Christopher Lloyd is making his return to the Addams Family universe, but since the role of Uncle Fester is already taken by Fred Armisen, he'll be playing Professor Orloff instead, a strict teacher who's taught at Nevermore longer than anyone else. Since Sheriff Galpin lost his job, a new one needs to take up the mantle. Filling his shoes will be Richie Santiago, played by Luyanda Unati Luis Nyawo. And now that Tyler is locked up in Willow Hill Psychiatric Facility, he'll need someone to evaluate him, and that will fall on Dr. Rachel Fairburn, who will be played by Tandy Newton. Meanwhile, her assistant Judy will be played by Heather Matarazzo.